for his service, as well as everyone else in this body who has served in the armed forces of this country. We have a lot to be thankful for. As I was listening to the delegate, I was thinking about my time in the General Assembly, and I've been here now, I think, 12 years, and I was trying to recall a time where I actually got up on the floor of the House for a point of personal privilege related to guns. And you might be surprised about this, but I don't think I ever have done that. I live in a pretty special part of the Commonwealth. I live in the city of Charlottesville. It's a tiny little urban speck in the middle of what is really a rural sea. And so I have a lot of people in my district who are gun owners, a lot of people who hunt. And I usually don't talk very much about gun issues on the floor of the House here. But times are changing in this country, and I think we have to start beginning the dialogue that we need to have about guns. We've heard many words in this chamber over the last several weeks about the importance of civility and rational discourse, and most recently as it applies to gun policy. And we fully embrace those principles. But I also hope that we will not confuse a call for civility with an excuse for inaction. Few of us can truly understand the horror and sorrow of losing a loved one to gun violence. As I think many of you know, there are several of our colleagues here in this chamber who have experienced this tragedy. For them, and for increasing numbers of people in this country, the pain and sorrow of that kind of action will not go away. It will never go away. And for these folks, they are losing patience with us politicians and with the frequently recited refrain that our thoughts and prayers are with them. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, it's not that they reject this sentiment. They do want our thoughts and prayers. They want a president who is the healer in chief. They want elected leaders to express an understanding of their pain. But the words are no longer enough. They really want action. And while most of us understand that there are no simple answers, many in the public feel that we're not even addressing the issues, or worse yet, we're embracing a cynical and defeating notion that nothing can or should change. Mr. Speaker, when people interested in gun safety talk to me about what's going on down here, and I explain to them how bill after bill after bill related to gun safety go to die in a small, stacked, non-proportional subcommittee, they ask why, and they get angry. They know that the shooter in Las Vegas would not have killed as many as he did had he not had a bump stock, hardly something you need for hunting or self-defense. And when I tell them that there was a bill that would have outlawed bump stocks that was defeated in a partisan vote in a small committee, they ask why, and they get angry. They know that the shooter in Florida had an AR-15 and was under 21 when he bought it. They have seen the videos, and they have heard the sounds of rapid-fire terror and carnage. This is hardly a weapon for hunting. And when I tell them about bills that have failed here that would have made it more difficult for young people to purchase such an assault weapon, they ask why, and they get angry. And when I tell them that many of this body were on the cusp of voting to permit guns to be carried into churches, they ask why, and they get more angry. They hear the claims about so-called deranged people who are held responsible for recent gun violence, even though most mentally ill people do not commit mass murder and do not have access to weapons of mass carnage. And when they hear we had a bill that would have given us a tool to address this problem that was not even considered or heard in committee, they ask why, and they get angry. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, defenders of the NRA and the gun lobby try to make this debate about our citizens' ability to own guns. But it has never really been about that. Such a claim is an illusion and the edifice that has been constructed to support it is rapidly crumbling under the weight of event after tragic event. Mr. Speaker, if we want to have a rational and reasonable discussion about gun safety, we can have it. Let's have it. Here is our challenge to you. Let's take 3 proposals, just 3 that were recently advanced by lawmakers in other states and have been proposed in some measure in this House. Other states, Florida included. Ban bump stocks, there's one of them. We've got that bill. How about a bill to prevent those under 21 from buying an AR-15? How about that one? There's 2. And one more, a creative option supported by the National Review, that conservative think tank magazine, whereby families or law enforcement concerned about the mental health of an individual and their access to guns can ask for a restraining order to temporarily take away those weapons until the danger subsides. Could this have stopped Cho at Virginia Tech? Or Dylan Root in Charleston? Or the Pulse nightclub shooter? If we're truly being honest with ourselves, we'd have to say the answer is yes. A bill like that was introduced by Delegate Sullivan, never got a hearing. You say the word, Mr. Speaker, we could resurrect that bill, or others, or the other 2 that I discussed, or other gun safety measures that you might want. But we cannot do it alone. If you tell us that we should do this, we can consider bills like these, and our constituents can see the rational discourse and debate, not in a small committee, but on the floor of this House. And they will see how we vote, and they can judge whether we have truly dealt with one of the most significant problems our country faces today. We will need you, Mr. Speaker, and we will need leaders and members from both sides and from both parties to do this. That is the only way we could get any of these measures passed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.